Good day. I hope Jerry's doing well. Hi, Jerry. I want to talk about being in the now. I want to talk about being present. Right now, it feels like that's where I've got a lot of juice and a lot of challenges. I focus a lot, and I have really intense focusing. Really want things to go a certain way. And I get so in tune with that the times that I do get present to what's now, usually I'm aware of the gap.
Well, we're going to torture you just a little here because it's so much fun.
Yes, I know. You enjoy
because
it.
It's clarifying. We're just going to ask you a straightforward question. Can you be other than in the now?
No.
It's a trick question. Esther's father had a question. Where was the man when he jumped off the bridge? And Esther would say, on the bridge, and her father would say, that was before he jumped. And Esther would say, in the air, and her father would say, that's after he jumped. So there was no way she could not ever satisfy him, because where was the man when he jumped off the bridge? Well, there was never the right answer. But when we ask you, when we put this question to you, can you be other than in the now? Can you be other than in the now? Well, yeah, I could be thinking about the past. Yeah, but you're doing it now. I could be thinking about the future. Yes, but you're doing it now. I could be focused on what's happening in the room. Yes, but you're doing it now. In other words, you can never have a conscious moment that you are not experiencing the junction of where you meet you. And that's what now is. Now is not so much about time passing. Now is your point of focus. But what we want to emphasize in this conversation about now is that there are two potential aspects of you that are rendezvousing now. And that's really what you're getting at. Now, am I letting most of me be present in the now? How much of me is present in the now? Am I pinching most of me off because I'm criticizing or pushing against or afraid of something? Or am I allowing full presence in the now? That's the way we want to have the now conversation. How am I doing now in relationship to the fullness? Because there's always something manifesting. Because you can't, in other words, you could knock yourself unconscious and your now could be different. But in a conscious moment, aren't you having a now experience? Aren't there people beside you and in front of you and behind you? And isn't this room what it is? And aren't you hearing this voice? And isn't the temperature what it is? And aren't you interested to some degree in the conversation? You can't get away from now. You cannot stop being present in the now. But you can deprive yourself of most of you in the now, or you can allow most of you in the now. And depending upon which way you're playing that's what's at the heart of what you're getting at here.
It is, yes. Because that presence, the experience having the most of me in the now.
So let's talk about presence. We like the word you're introducing here. Mm-hmm. So I can be in my physical body and be present in my now and be complaining about something or worried about something or focused upon something, wanted or unwanted. But I can be present in the now and depriving myself of the involvement or the full presence of broader perspective. Our friend just said, I know stuff when I'm in the vortex. You know what she's saying? She's saying the larger part of me has knowledge that I usually deprive myself of. But when I'm in the vortex, I allow the fuller presence of the whole of me, so I have a fuller experience. People sometimes will say to Esther, nice of you to sacrifice yourself and allow Abraham to use your body as much as you do. And Esther will say, there's no sacrifice because it's an adding to the presence of that which is me. In other words, I'm not being deprived of this experience. It's an enhancing of this experience. Esther is present, but Abraham is present. And when Abraham is present with Esther, Esther is having a much fuller, more delicious experience, you see, in the now, in the now, in the now.
Yeah, and it's that juice of that presence in the now that I'm looking for more of.
Well, let's use different words, though. Those are fine words, but let's make them more meaningful. I'm looking for the allowance, my allowance, of a larger part of the presence of me to be focused in this moment. So if I criticize something, I disallow the presence because my inner being, like Esther's, is not going to come out of the vortex and join me in my criticism. So if I want the fullness of who I am, I must tune myself to appreciation and to love, to things that are interesting. I must feel worthiness. I must know the wholeness of who I am. I must conceptually understand who I am, where I came from. I must understand the vortex. I must be pretty good at paying attention to the way I feel and guiding myself because of the way I feel. I must care about how I feel. I must deliberately find thoughts that allow the fullness of who I am. When you feel an emptiness that you might call fear, you're not afraid of what you think you're afraid of. The fear is you've used whatever you're thinking about as a reason to deprive yourself in the now of the fullness of who you are. Isn't that good to know? Oh no, Abraham, I feel this way because I was thinking that thought, and that thought is a horrible thought. And we say, that's all part of the story, and that may be true, but you don't feel bad because you're thinking that thought. You feel bad because you're focused away from the full presence of the real presence of who you really are and what's in the vortex and what you really want, and you're depriving yourself of the manifestation of what you want. And in the absence of light, there's darkness. In the absence of wellness, there's sickness. In the absence of clarity, there's confusion. In other words, are you getting it? What are you allowing? It's all about, everything is about what's in the vortex and how much of what's in the vortex that you're allowing right now. That's it. That's what the whole deliberate creative conversation or allowing or surrendering or law of attraction or spiritual conversation is about. How much of the real presence of who I am I allowing right now by the thought that I've chosen to think? And people get so hung up on reality that they think, well, it's true, so I should think it. No, it's not. It's not true. It's temporary.
And it's, as you've been saying recently a lot, it's old news. I've been really enjoying that. Yes. What's now is just history. It's old news. It's
by the time it manifested, it is old news. But so, can you feel how fun it is to reach for the vortex and find it often and feel pretty good and milk it every chance you get and then see manifestations reflect how good you feel. Last week, Barbara and Esther were flying back to San Antonio, and their plane left White Plains late, and then their plane was delayed sitting on the tarmac when it arrived in Atlanta, and they missed their connection, which looked like something going wrong. Until they got on the airplane with the funniest flight attendant who ever has existed. And Esther and Barbara began playing with her, and the woman became a comic because Esther and Barbara were egging her on until they laughed themselves silly. And they were in the first class cabin, and there were very few people around, and most of the people around were not having any of it because it was just too silly. We are certain that they thought Esther and Barbara were drunk. They were not. And the flight attendant too. And then the flight attendant announced that they keep giving her drug and alcohol testing because she's just too happy. And she keeps passing it, and she had said that she was on a diet. She'd lost 12 pounds suddenly, and Esther thought, well, that could be a little bit of a problem. Your electrolytes might be out of whack. And she said she's eating some sort of concoction that was mostly cucumbers and tomatoes. And Esther said, it might be fermenting in your stomach and turning to alcohol, because she was very high and very happy. And then a man across the way, who was really not having any of it, finally just had to give in to it. It was too funny not to give in to it. It was just too funny. The flight attendants would come up and tell this main flight attendant things that were going on in the back of the airplane, and then she would announce it to Esther and Barbara, like they should be in the know of this. And it was completely inappropriate, the things that she was telling them, but utterly hysterical until Esther's eyelashes were in her lap. You just can't laugh that hard and maintain any kind of glue, no matter how good it is. And then the man across the way finally got involved in it too, and now it is time to land the plane, and this flight attendant is so involved in her entertainment that she has not made any of the announcements. And so Esther said, please bring your seats and trays to the upright and locked position. And the man across the way said to this wonderful woman, you might want to take your seat. And she said, do you see treetops? And he said, I do. And then she flies into her kitchen, realizing she has not put anything away. And the plane is landing, and she's going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Closing doors. And then the final thing, Barbara and Esther see her fly across the door and hit her seat in the moment that the plane hit the ground. And Esther said to Barbara, I would not have missed this for anything. I'm so appreciative of all of the events that unfolded in the most logical path of least resistance that allowed us to have this much fun in this little bit of time, this powerful now, where cooperative components rendezvoused and the whole of who we are was present for 2 hours. The whole of who we are was present for 2 hours.
Absolutely.
What a wonderful moment in time. You see?
Yes.
Yes.
Really great.